All right, Kevin back with you with another episode of the Million Dollar Relationships Podcast. And today I'm here with Jayson Lowe. Jayson, welcome. So awesome to have you, man.
It's good to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Same. And this is kind of an interesting way that you and I connected. I essentially was stalking you on Facebook, and I'm just like, man, I like that Jayson guy. I love the way that he shows up, and just you're a family guy like me who loves your wife, and you're this guy who there is no hiding the passion you have for what you do. And so
Thank you.
I just ended up reaching out to you, and I knew we had, I could just tell we had some great mutual friends, and not just Facebook friends, but like real friends, real life
Absolutely.
friends. And I just ended up reaching out to you and saying, hey, I would love to interview you for this podcast, and here we are. And
Well, I'm humbled to be here.
yeah, you and me both, and what a great spot for both of us to be in is just being able to. I'm excited to have this conversation because I know the impact it's going to have on anybody who has the opportunity to listen in on it and stuff. And so, what I'd like to do is I just want to start by turning it over to you, Jayson, and sharing a little bit. Set a little bit of context, share a little bit about what you do, who you serve, what inspires you most about the work that you do, and we'll just start there.
Oh, wow. That's a really great place to begin. I'm really blessed in the sense that within, the Lowe family group of companies, one of our flagship businesses in Canada is Ascendant Financial, and in the US is branded as LifeEva. And in that particular business, we have specialized the past 15 years, going into our 16th year in July, in the implementation of a process of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept, something that we have positively impacted the lives of thousands of people across Canada, and most recently having launched in the United States early this year. And that business was born out of what Joe Polish, you and I know Joe Polish from the Genius Network, what he would refer to as the domino. That was a domino that tipped over for me in my life back in 2008. And it was a result of attending an event that, had I not gone there, had I not taken that action to participate, I don't know that you and I would be talking to each other right now. And the reason I've highlighted that particular area of specialization within our group of companies is because that is what gave birth to all the other opportunities that have blossomed within our group of companies. We're in e-commerce, we're in 3PL. We have a big warehouse here in Canada where we do an amazing Amazon resale business that'll do about 15 million in sales this year, and started from nothing. And all those opportunities were born out of what my late mentor, R. Nelson Nash, created and pioneered, and that's the infinite banking concept. And so I'm just, I owe him a debt of gratitude that I could really never repay. But by the same token, with every opportunity that I have a chance to honor him as a mentor in my life, I amplify that, because I miss him. He's no longer with us. He passed in March of 2019. But I was blessed beyond the definition of good fortune to be mentored by him directly for so many years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I noticed when looking at your website, yeah, you've been doing what you do for a while now, and you've impacted a lot of
Yep.
lives. What is like, just, I would imagine you've had some pretty awesome stories from people that you served. I mean, share one or two stories that just really come up for you that kind of speak to the impact that you guys have been able to have.
Oh, wow. I'll share one that comes up for me that really impacted me, and just really highlighted the significance of what we do. And there's a family who runs a really, really, really good family farming operation. And we had helped this family to implement this process. They had successfully implemented it in their lives. They had already been clients for about 7 years, up to a point where what I refer to in our business as a 911 phone call. And let me just provide some context. When
Yeah.
you implement this process of becoming your own banker, you're utilizing dividend paying participating whole life insurance. And so you are creating this, platform of financial certainty for the family. And I received a 911 notification when I was right in the middle of a podcast interview. So I'm sitting in our studio at our headquarters, and a team member comes in and drops a 911 post-it note right in front of me, right in the middle of an interview. And so I immediately ended the interview knowing what that meant. It meant that a client had passed away.
Oh, wow.
And so I contacted the family and the father. So Lawrence, he had said to me that he wanted to share some devastating news that his 13-year-old son had passed.
Wow.
And among the family, the entire family was insured to implement this process, and his son, who had passed away, was one of those lives insured. And what happened was he had gone to retrieve something from one of the structures on the family farm. He entered that structure, climbed up a ladder, unfortunately, accidentally fell off that ladder. And what they came to know is that he had gone into cardiac arrest and there was nobody there to help him.
Wow.
And it was his dad who found him. And so his dad said to me that they had experienced a bit of a rough patch on in the farming business for a couple of years, and we had experienced some drought, and like this was very common for families who operated agricultural farming businesses, that they had experienced a rough patch. And he said that the death benefit proceeds from that insurance policy not only helped them to plan and carry out a very amazing celebration of their son's life, but it also helped the family take care of a lot of the financial burden that had been created as a result of going through that rough patch. And to this day, on the anniversary, near and around the anniversary, his dad and I still get together and have a conversation, because I will never forget that conversation for as long as I live. That's one of the most difficult conversations that you can have with someone, and to try to be there as an ear to bend, a shoulder to lean on, just to hear out a fellow father talk about the devastation of that accident. And every single year that we have an opportunity to connect and touch base with each other, it's a reminder to me of the significance of what we do, because we impact families in a very positive way while everybody is alive. But the fact of the matter is, we're all going to graduate someday.
That's
We're all
right.
going to pass away. We
Yep.
just don't know when that day is going to come. But when
Yeah.
it does come, my goodness, for this particular family, they were able to take the time to grieve the way that they should, because they didn't have any financial worry and stress associated with that. They could take the time to grieve and really celebrate the life of their deceased son.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that, to me, it just symbolizes our duty of care and what we do for families that we serve in a positive way. And all of our team members were devastated as well. And it all begins and ends with people. Like when you're in business and you think about, oh, I need to my goal is to gain market share. My goal is to sell more volume. My goal is to maximize profitability. My goal is to this and that. My goal is to serve the people, not the
That's right.
money.
That's right.
And when you're focused on that, my goodness, does the abundance follow.
Yes.
And
Amen.
so
Yeah.
thank you
Yeah.
for asking me about that. It's something that I think about often when especially when I have occasion to share it with your listeners. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I always try to get across is that if there are people in your life that that would die for you, and vice versa, if there are people that you would die for, don't waste any time reminding those people just how important they are to you
That's right.
and expressing gratitude and respect. And it just, it fills your soul with positive energy, and it's fulfilling. And, but, we take our duty of care very seriously in that aspect of our business. And
Yeah.
so thank you for asking me to share
Yeah,
that.
you bet. Well, like I said, there is no hiding the fact how passionate you are about what you do. And that's why I was looking forward to asking you that question, because I knew there was going to be a great story that just demonstrated why, and you're so right, is that, in our businesses, it all comes, I mean, I have long believed 100% that as entrepreneurs, relationships are the most valuable asset we possess, and that everything
Oh,
else
no
from
kidding.
that, everything else. And
Yep.
if we get the relationship piece right, and if we just truly care about those we serve, well, revenue becomes the byproduct of that. Revenue is the byproduct of impact,
Definitely.
not the other way around. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Frank Frank Kern said, he said to me, he said, if you were to take a look at where your income is today, it is a direct byproduct of the value that you've created for others.
that's right.
And I got to give Frank Kern a lot of credit, because one thing that he shared, and this may be of interest to entrepreneurs who are tuning in and listening, is that, when you think of content creation and you want to be known, right? And the fact of the matter is that the best known service or the best known product will always outperform the best service or the best product.
Mhm.
It's all about being known.
Yeah,
And what people do is they go out there, and it's the film that's all about them. Hey, look at me, look at what I've done, look at how good I am, look at how rich I am, look at all these things. And Frank Kern said, what you want to do is you want to be the producer and the director of the movie that's all about them.
that's right. That's
And when you do that with sincerity, with authenticity, and you're coming from a place of integrity, and you really want to serve them, and you help them by actually helping them,
yes,
great things happen in your business.
that's
And
right.
so I'll say it again, it's something I've been just reinforcing at every opportunity. Serve the people, not the money.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
Isn't that good?
That is further the relationships, and the money just follows.
You
And
got it.
yeah. All right. So what I want to do now, I'm going to shift gears. I'm going to reiterate the question for the benefit of the listeners.
Sure.
So, have you ever met or been introduced to a person or persons that completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And Jayson, I'm just really excited to hear your story, your experience around this topic.
Oh, wow. Well, the answer to your question is a resounding yes. And for me, it began with R. Nelson Nash. This gentleman here, for those who are maybe viewing this gentleman here is my late mentor. He's right next to me each and every day, and he was the domino that tipped over and changed everything in my life. And the impact that he had on me, both personally and professionally, is one that I really can never repay him for. He was so generous with his knowledge, his wisdom, his time, his energy, and that impacted my life in an incalculable way.
Mhm.
And in addition to R. Nelson Nash, who developed this process of becoming your own banker, who oh my God, I cannot say enough positive things about him. A man with near perfect integrity. In addition to him, I give so much credit to being the sum parts of everybody who's mentored me.
Mhm.
Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach. I've been blessed to be in Dan Sullivan's community in his 10X program since October of 2018, and being coached directly by Dan. I'm
Mhm.
now in his Free Zone program, and also Joe Polish of the Genius Network, a gentleman who is one of the best connectors I've ever met on the planet, and who is so genuine in his desire to have a community of givers And he said it best, the world gives to the giver and takes from the taker.
Mhm.
And that makes me think of the relationship comment that you made just recently here as well. When I enter into a new relationship, especially one with a mentor, with somebody who's going to pour into me, I make deposits into that relationship long before I ever request a withdrawal.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is being of service.
Yep.
And I can't emphasize that enough, because the other thing that I would say, had it not been for me taking action back in July of 2008, after having gone through so many life events that most people endure over decades, and what happened to me in just a few short years, both my parents passing away prematurely and unexpectedly, my first marriage ending, being on the brink of financial ruin. And at that point, having every opportunity to throw in the towel and
Mhm.
just say, hey, this is my lot in life. So be it. But my late father said to me more often than I can remember, son, don't ever be convicted guilty of giving up on yourself. And so in that moment when I thought, okay, this is kind of a rock bottom for me, if you think of all the events that would really cause a lot of stress and pressure for someone, the death of a loved one, a marriage failing, financial stress, that can really impact you from a health perspective, from a
Yep.
mental perspective. But I decided that I wasn't ever going to be found guilty of giving up on myself. And right in that time, and I believe that everything happens for a reason, there's no coincidence in my book, that a gentleman named Matt, uh, who had been in my life for a few years, a gentleman that I met when I lived and worked in the United States for a short work, you know, time frame there. He had contacted me and said, "Hey, I'm going to this conference. Would love to have you there." Financially, I couldn't put the money together to make it happen, so I was determined to do something different, to take action, and so I did put it together, and I went, and that's what led me to my mentor, R. Nelson Nash. And so, had I not done that, you and I wouldn't be talking to each other right now. So
Yeah.
it really all began with R. Nelson Nash and what he created, and um, the fact that he was just so generous and kind enough to believe in me and to mentor me all those years. I will never, ever, ever, ever take a mentor for granted, ever,
Yeah.
because you just never know what that lasting impact is going to be.
That's right. That's right. Well, if you look at these you've mentioned R. Nelson Nash, you've mentioned Dan Sullivan, you've mentioned Joe Polish and Matt, if you look at these relationships, and I just want you to kind of like, because I like to go deep with this stuff, and
Sure.
you're gonna be such a perfect person to do this with. But if you look at any one of these relationships,
Yeah.
and you look at what is transpired. So I want you to kind of think of what is one thing that stands out in your mind from any one of these relationships that you've talked about, that where because of these relationships you were able to have such a much bigger impact in the world, in whatever way that looks like, that you also know hands down would have never happened if not for these relationships. If not, and I was looking for one example from any one of them. And I know you've kind of talked about R. Nash, so maybe one of the other gentlemen that you've mentioned or something too.
Oh my goodness. Well, what I would say to you is that if you think about, you know, um, for me, I when I look back on just the financial element of my life,
Mhm.
and back in 2008, I did not have freedom of money.
Okay. Okay.
And I certainly didn't have freedom of time, because I was working for someone, for another company, and I was earning a fairly decent income. And I fast forward to today as a culmination of Nelson and Joe and Dan and everyone in their communities. I could sit here for 4 days and give you the names of everybody that I've interacted with and done business with, and how they've had an impact on me.
Yeah.
You know, our group of companies are going to generate more than $30 million this year. And I'm at a point in my life now where I don't worry about money anymore.
Yeah.
I have freedom of time, freedom of purpose, freedom of relationships, and certainly freedom of money and cash confidence. And so that had never been experienced in my family's bloodline before, let alone,
Wow.
let alone with me. You know, my dad, my late dad, God rest his soul, he worked the very same job for 35 years. And that was his lot in life. That's what people did and still do today.
Yeah.
But he never achieved freedom of money. He was always stressed about, hey, we got to make ends meet. And he's always trying to pull both ends together and make them meet.
Yeah.
And that creates a lot of stress. But I will tell you that, and again, it is truly that domino where my income in the first few years of being introduced to our Nelson Nash increased by more than 1,600%.
Wow.
And so that doesn't happen by going and shaking a money tree. It happened because our Nelson Nash always told me, be of service to the people, not the money.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever suffer from the arrival syndrome, meaning there's no such thing as having arrived in knowledge. There's always something new to learn. The moment that you feel that you've arrived in knowledge, I promise you, it's all downhill from here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And thirdly, don't ever pervert yourself to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're introducing this process or you're serving the people through this message, it's all about them. And it doesn't need to be sensationalized. Keep it simple. And those sage words of advice are permanently etched in stone in up here in this feeble brain of mine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I cannot give my mentors enough credit. It wouldn't be possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but I'll tell you, the impact financially, mentally, physically, personally, professionally, the impact is immeasurable if you're truly coachable.
Yeah.
If you know that there's a better version of you, and you know that just as much as your mentor does, and you're willing to actually put in the work to move toward realizing that potential, which just continues to go up and up and up and up and up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, what a fulfilling life journey it is.
That's right.
Whereas, you know, you and I have both met people and know people who think that they've learned everything there is to know. There's nothing new that they can be taught. They've arrived in knowledge, and that they really truly believe that there's no further potential for them to strive for.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a waste.
I know. What a sad state of affairs to feel.
Totally.
Like there's nothing more for me to learn or to discover or anything.
Oh my God.
I mean,
I couldn't imagine.
Me, that's what I live. I love the discovery process. And you know, I'll tell you, I'll be 58 this year in July, and I feel like I'm just now starting to figure a few things out. And I also realize that there's like so many things that I don't even know yet that I'm just like, man, I'm so excited to continue just on this exploration, this discovery of just continually, you know, striving to become the best version of me, you know. And absolutely. Yeah. And I'll be doing that till
you're either in
last dying day.
Oh, totally. And you know, you're either in communication with others or you're hiding.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's really no in between there. And the way that we, you know, build our teams within our companies, it's amazing in the sense of how we go about coaching and mentoring and developing people by prioritizing them and giving them an opportunity to really operate in their unique ability, doing the things that they're naturally the best at. And then when we create the abundance in the business, this will be a real shocker. We actually share it with the people who help to create it. And
imagine that.
I'm so proud.
Appreciation there.
Oh my God, I'm so proud. Like I ask team members all the time, and I reinforce with them first and foremost that for me, it's never above, never below, always alongside. I'm always alongside you. I'm never above you. I'm never below you. I'm just right here alongside you. And when we put together a business that produces profit, and I ask people on our team, is there anybody here who's allergic to money? And the answer is always no. It's like, okay, well, here's how our profit sharing process works. And I hope that it's so helpful for the entrepreneurs that are tuning in. So we create and prioritize profit first. So following Mike Malkowitz's model, the profit first model, all credit to Mike Malkowitz. He's an amazing guy. And this profit first framework is just incredible. We use it in every business. And so we prioritize profit first. And then once a quarter, we look inside what's accumulated in that profit first bucket. We take 50%, 50% of that bucket,
Okay.
and we allocate it amongst team members. And then the team, without me being involved in the decision intentionally, the team decides how to bless other people's lives in a positive way with the remaining 50% by donating money to individuals and organizations in the communities where we live and work. And what do you think that does to the mentality of the people who are empowered to make that decision?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
What do you think it does?
I mean, it gets them excited to be a part of the whole thing.
You got it.
They want to experience more of that. And so
you got it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I am intentionally excluded from that decision making because I don't want to be persuasive. I want the team to really be in that state of giving and to feel fulfilled in that state of giving and to select the organizations and the individuals that they feel would benefit most from that gift. And boy, does that ever fill up your energy tank.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Right?
That's powerful.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Because profit, you know, profit is for most companies, it's the bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Sales minus expenses equals profit. Well, okay, then it's at the bottom of the pile. But if you prioritize that first, it forces you to innovate. It forces you to operate better. It forces your team members to innovate and operate better. And then if you embrace that model that I just shared with you and you make it do what you want it to do in your own business, I promise you, the net effect of that is going to produce even more profit than you could have imagined had you not had that framework in place. It's absolutely incredible.
Wow. Wow.
Isn't that good?
That is great. That is awesome. Jayson, for anybody listening to this, that is like, dang, Kev, I really like this Jayson guy. I love what he's talking about. I love who he is. I love the way he shows up. How can they find out more about you guys and what you guys are doing and stuff?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm all over social media, so you can find me on the Facebooks. You can find me on the YouTubes. We've got a couple of great channels there with Bankers Vault and Wealth Without Bay Street. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on the TikTokers and the Instagrammies. And you can just send me a message. You know, I can provide you with my email contact info. I'd love to hear from people, but it's just my first name, Jayson, period, LOWE at ascendantfinancial.ca. Again, that's ascendantfinancial.ca. And shoot me a message. I'd love to hear from you. That's what you and I talked about before we hit the record button. This is all about them. And when I say them, I'm talking to you, the listener, and I'm looking at you, the viewer. This is all about you. And I'm just sharing a few of the elements of our framework that have created the success that we're so privileged and blessed to enjoy and to share with others.
That's right. That's right. Well, Jayson, I want to just thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today and just share from your heart. You know, my goal has always been really simple with this podcast is I wanted to be able to use it to inspire other entrepreneurs, other CEOs, other founders to place a more intentional focus on creating more real, meaningful, rewarding, and profitable relationships in their lives. And we definitely succeeded in that today, thanks to you, Jayson. So I really appreciate that. Any last words that you might want to share before we call it a wrap?
I would just pass along the same advice that my late father gave to me, to any entrepreneur who's listening, regardless of where you're at in your journey. Don't ever be convicted guilty of giving up on yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there are people who love you and want to see you succeed. And there are great mentors out there just waiting to pour into you and to help you and support you and guide you. And so it's been a tremendous honor to be with you here today, and I'm humbled, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to share.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Jason. Really appreciate it.